Hello Year 8. Today we want to talk about adjacent angles, right angles and straight angles. So the word adjacent angles, that means any two angles that share an arm and a vertex. So what that looks like as a diagram, if I have a point and one arm coming out this way, I could draw an angle out here. There'd be one angle, but I could draw a second angle on the other side of that point and that arm. And those two angles would be called adjacent because they share this point and this arm. The next word that you need to know is a type of adjacent angles that we call complementary angles. So I wouldn't remember adjacent complementary angles. We just want this word complementary angles. Complementaries are two angles that add to 90 degrees. So what that is you have a right angle, and that right angle has been divided into two angles like this. So we will be solving problems that maybe you're told that this one here is 60 degrees and you might want to find that second angle down there, and you would call that complementary angles, two angles that add to 90. The next one that we want to talk about is called supplementary angles, and that is any two angles that add to 180 degrees. 180 degrees is your straight angle. And again, I just want to cut that into two angles. So maybe this one here is 100 degrees, and then I could find the x on the other side, which would obviously have to be the 80, and together they would make 180 degrees. Now, the last two that are here, it's going to sound a little bit repetitive. The next one says right angle equals 90 degrees. Now these are the reasons that you're going to need to give when you are finding values and you're told to give reasons for your answers. So this one is right angles equal 90. So the definition of this is when you have two or more angles that add to 90 degrees. So it could be exactly the same as complementary angles. It could just be any two angles that make 90 degrees. Or it could be more than two angles. And if it's more than two angles, then we have to use the reason that right angles equal 90 degrees. So maybe I would have my right angle, and I could have 30 and 20, and I want to find this missing angle here. Okay, that's an example of the type of problem that you might get for this. Now, because we don't want to have to remember too many different reasons, what I suggest you do is that you use right angles equal 90 degrees for any questions that involve right angles. Okay, that means that you won't actually need to use the reason complementary angles up here. However, it is still important that you know that word complementary, because there are the occasional question that will say, what is the complement of this angle? It's just the way that it's worded that you need to be familiar with that word. Okay, and likewise with this last reason, the last one is straight angles are equal to 180 degrees. That is two or more angles that add to 180. So we have our straight angle again, and we're going to cut that up into as many different angles as we like. So let's say this one's 50, this one might even be a right angle, and I could find that angle over there. So any time where you're trying to find a pronumeral and the angles add to give a straight angle, we're going to use this reason here. Straight angle equals 180. But just like before, I do want you to know this word supplementary, and that it means two angles that add to 180. Even though we're not going to be using that reason very often. Okay, so let's have a look at the questions on the next page. Determine the value of the pronumeral giving reasons. So remember, in geometry, the giving reasons part is really important. You get quite a lot of marks just for the giving reasons part. Okay, so the first thing you do is you look at the question and you go, oh, I have got a right angle that's been cut up here. So I know I'm going to be using the right angle equals 90 degrees rule. Okay, these two ones that I put stars next to are the ones that you're going to be using most of the time, if not all of the time, in the questions that you're about to do. Okay, determine the value of the pronumeral. So that means those two angles, A and the 30, have to add. So that means A plus 30 adds to give 90 degrees. Okay, when we give reasons, we put the reason in brackets and we use the reason that was shown in this table. That is that right angles equal 90 degrees. Now you can shorten that a little bit. So you need to write the word right, but instead of writing the word angle, you can draw a sloping L, which is like saying, here is my angle, like that, an angle symbol. All right, so you can say right angle equals 90 degrees. Okay, and that takes care of the reasons part. Now what we've made over here is a little equation, and we're trying to find out what A is equal to. Now, when we did the topic of equations, we learned that we had to do the opposites to move numbers away from our pronumerals. So to get rid of that 30, I would need to subtract 30 to cross that one away. So to get my answer, I would get 90 take away 30, which is 60 degrees. Okay, so my answer is here and my reason to get full marks. Question 3 is going to be a lot more practice of the same kind of thing. Determine the value of the pronumerals giving reasons. So in A, you can see that we have a straight line here that's been cut up into two angles. So that's the straight angle equals 180 rule. So we start by adding together those two angles. I always like to put my pronumeral first. A plus the 45 is going to be equal to 180 degrees. Okay, that is because straight angles, now we can use our little angle symbol again, straight angles equal 180 degrees. Now to solve that, I want to get the A by itself, which means I want to subtract the 45. Okay, get rid of that one. So that means that A is equal to 135 degrees. Next, we have another straight line here. So again, those two angles make 180 degrees. A plus 110, add the two angles together, equals 180. Always write your reason in brackets. And it's because straight angles equal 180 degrees. Now to solve that, to get the A by itself, I want to subtract the 110. Okay, so 180 minus 110 means that A is equal to 70 degrees. Part C, again I have my straight line here, so that means that those two angles are going to equal 180. So I have 2A for the first angle and 3A for the second angle equals 180 degrees. Write the reason in brackets. So straight angle equals 180 degrees. Now we need to collect those two A terms together first before we try to solve anything else. 2A plus 3A is 5A, and that is equal to 180. Then to get rid of the 5, I want to divide by 5. And that means that A is equal to 180 divided by the 5, which is 36. Okay, D. Here is the straight line. So those 3 angles will make 180 degrees. So that will be A, starting with the letter, plus, now right angle means that that's 90 degrees. So A plus 90 plus 50 is equal to 180 degrees. Write the reason in the bracket. And it's because straight angles are equal to 180 degrees. Now, this is where you might want to start showing a little bit less of the parts that I'm writing in red, okay, where I'm showing how I'm doing my opposites. To find the A by itself, I want to subtract the 90 and I want to subtract the 50. Now, I could do it one at a time, or I could add them together, or you could just get your calculator out and go 180 minus 90 minus the 50, taking away the 2 angles that we don't want. And that gives us that A is equal to 40 degrees. To write that working down in red would get a little bit messy because we're trying to move 2 things away. So it's okay if you go straight to the answer for this one and questions like it. Okay, so A is equal to 40 degrees. E, here is my straight line. So those 3 angles will make 180. So I'll have A plus A plus A equals 180. We always have to write the reason down. Straight angle equals 180 degrees. A plus A plus A is 3A. And then I would divide by the 3 to cancel that away. A is equal to 180 divided by 3, which is 60 degrees. In question F, we have got 2 letters to find. Now, normally if there is more than 1 letter, it is usually easiest to solve the letters in alphabetical order. So in this case, we're going to find the A first. Now, the A is actually making, the A and that 65 is actually making a right angle. Okay, we just want to use the right angle part for now. So that means that A plus 65 is equal to 90. Okay, it's a bit of a change. It's not a straight angle this time. So our right angle rule is right angle equals 90 degrees. Then I want to get rid of that 65, subtract the 65 away. And that means that A is equal to 90 minus the 65, which is 25 degrees. Okay, so now that I know that this one's 25, that can help me find B. Now I have B and 2 other angles that are making this straight line. So let's start with the B, and I would add on the 25 that I just worked out was A, and add on the 65, and that makes a straight angle, which is 180 degrees. Don't forget to write the reason down. Straight angle equals 180. Now to get that B by itself, I want to subtract the 25 and subtract the 65. Because there's 2 of them, you might want to skip the working out. So you go 180 minus 65 minus 25 equals 90 degrees. Okay, so these are your questions where you start today's work.